Welcome to the Circle of M. I am your host, Marcus Smith II. We are back with another episode, another edition. Man, we're doing a heavy pivot today, man, talking to CJ Sapong, man, who is an MLS soccer player, man, former first round draft pick, just like me, man. And I really appreciate you coming to the Circle of M and being able to speak about, you know, some things with life, mental health, just things that I feel like we need to talk about. And a lot of times, man, we don't get a chance, you know, as Black brothers to be able to express our emotions and some of the things that, you know, we go through on a daily basis. But man, I want to start off by checking in with you. We always come on this show and we do a check-in with the guys that come on. So I just want to start off by saying, man, good luck with everything. And how are you doing, man?
Man, I love that. First of all, thank you for having me. I know we've been trying to schedule this for a while, so I'm glad that we were able to make it work. But personally, I'm always thankful and gracious for, you know, the beautiful things around me. But kind of like what you were saying, I'm starting to get into a place where I'm feeling more comfortable with not being okay if I'm not okay. And, you know, delving deeper into my being and trying to articulate what it is exactly that I'm feeling. So for me personally, life is good. I got a family. I've got, I'm playing on a team that's doing well right now at this moment, and so many good things around me. But personally, I'm in a place where the stats on the field aren't indicative of the work that I'm putting in. So it's an interesting spot for me because 12 years into the league, I mean, I've had ups and downs, you know, but to be in a place where I can have those, I'm technically in a down place, but I'm getting this friction of all this goodness around me. I'm able to kind of navigate it in a way better sense. And, you know, I'm very thankful for all the work I put in and emphasis I put on mental health and mental strength. I can't lie, though. It is friction still, you know, and I know, you know, like at the end of the day, you know, the majority of people that interact with us see us as the athlete, and they see us in our position, and they can't help but compare us to other people in that position. So it's very interesting, you know, going through that and dealing with the kind of like conundrums of life, if you will. But I use that as an opportunity to continue to hone in on all the things that I should be grateful for. And, you know, when I do that, the blessings are damn near infinite, man.
Man, that was so real what you just said, and it kind of like gives us a different perspective because, you know, us as football players, I mean, it's still kind of football, you know, they call it football in another place, but it really gives us a perspective that, you know, all of us deal with something. And then you just alluded to something that was real key, man. You still deal with certain things, and then also, you know, just saying that it's a journey, man. We're going on this journey. It's great things that are happening in our lives, but we still have those days where, you know, days are, you know, better than others. And we have those moments where, you know, we really have to use what we've learned to take care of our mental. And man, I thank you for definitely sharing that, because we're in a place, in a stage now. I've always said this. It seems like I've said this so much, is that we're in a mental health crisis. I mean, we are, man. And especially as, you know, being in a Black community, it's really more profound than it has been in the past. And that's kind of like what we do on the Circle of M. So, man, I appreciate that. But I want to talk a little bit about, like, when did you start playing soccer? And, like, when did you find your love for the game? Because for me, I started playing when I was 5, and it was just everything was just fun. Like, we were just playing, and I really found a love for the game. So what about you? When did you start your love of soccer, and when did you start playing?
Same exact age, bro. 5 years old. Wow. I was a active, young little tot, and, you know, soccer was actually one of a few sports I was playing. I was playing basketball. I was playing baseball. and doing, a lot of different sports in the neighborhood. But I think personally for me, being of Ghanaian descent, my family gravitated towards soccer more, and I felt the energy that they brought behind that. And over time, I kind of filtered more of my energy into soccer. But it's very interesting because I was just kind of like replaying this in my mind a couple of days ago, understanding where the choice points were that like really pushed me into soccer. And I think the fun aspect was just more with soccer. And also as a young growing Black boy, like not being able to, or not being in positions where I felt like I had to be the best. Soccer is a team sport. There's a lot of other players on the field. When I followed soccer, I was getting different aspects of culture, looking at teams from all these different countries, learning different playing styles, learning how characteristics came out in the sport. And that's something that I just gravitated towards. And when I, fast forward to now, I'm just so thankful for, because it broadened my perspective in a way that, not saying that I couldn't have gotten that, but it allowed me to have a more spread out foundation of understanding. And then I was able to take those concepts and apply them into my life. And again, fast forwarding until now, even though it's taken a while, even though 12 years in the league, I still have my things I'm dealing with. I'm able to look in a variety of perspectives. And I think when you talk about mental health, that's a very, very big thing, because we all are in our reality. We all make our own mental constructions, and we start to think that, okay, this is what life is. We get that, like, from a global standpoint or from a universal standpoint, we are but one perspective in a wide array of perspectives. And, once we can kind of appreciate the way we see things, but also appreciate that there are other ways to go about it, that's when we really are in a position to begin healing ourselves and having fun while doing it.
Man, what did you just say?
It's flowing today, man.
That's a couple parts right there, baby. Like, hey. But you're in your 12th year, man. That is commendable. Like, to still be doing something that you love to do. I played 6 years, but we all know that, man, each and every year it seems like it gets tougher and it gets tougher. And you continue to get better each and every year. And as the years go, man, you start to see how much of a business, your game is, and everything that you're doing. I want to say we were both first round draft picks, and I got drafted to the Eagles. And now that you're playing with the Nashville Soccer Club, in the beginning, for me I felt like being in Philly, it was kind of like a lot of pressure, and it was a culture shock for me because I've never been a part of something like that. What I wanted to ask was, with your perspective, did you feel like it was pressure to produce or to do more, like being a first round draft pick?
Oh yeah, man. The thing that worked to my advantage is that I didn't think I would go first round, nor did pundits or analysts think I was going to go first round, right? Yeah. I ended up going first round from having a strong combine. I think I went to a school that was, we'll just say, not in a stronger conference. And I think that alone kind of kept me out of the sight of a lot of teams. But, around college and being on my own and having my independence, I started moving towards a place where I was able to be a little bit more well-balanced on and off the field. And, I was told, when I did my interviews, teams were impressed and the way I would work hard and A big thing that I even use to this day is like, how quickly can you respond or react? So it's like when I lose a ball, I'm not pouting about it. Or if somebody doesn't pass me the ball, I'm not getting angry. I'm just like, as quick as I possibly can, moving in a direction to, bring benefit to myself and my team. And so it was a surprise, and whew. But once I got to the locker room that first day, I was like, okay, like you got to be on your P's and Q's every single day, every training session.
Right.
And you know how it is when you're a young guy, you got older guys that are testing your skin and, putting you in positions that you're not used to. And again, I think me just kind of focusing on responding in the right way as opposed to actually achieving, that's what helped me in the beginning. And then once I started achieving, that was the next step for me within my career where I was like, okay, well, now I got to keep this up. And it's like, how do I keep this up when there's natural forces of nature against you at, every single day? So that it was tough. If somebody was to look at my stats, there's good seasons, there's okay seasons, there's not so good seasons. It'd be hard for them to really understand like the journey that I was going through in those places. Because even when I had a good season, if my team gets kicked out of the playoffs in the first game, people forget about that individual. It's like, well, y'all didn't do it as a team, or even the first team I played for was Kansas City. Sporting Kansas City is the name. They did a rebrand right when I got there. So, the city was hyped. There was a lot of eyes on us. And it took to my third year, we ended up winning MLS Cup, but I had like 4 goals that season. And to me, it was like, the first year I had 11, the next year I had 9. So like I went down in production, but then I got a championship. And like, I wanted to enjoy that so much. But what ended up happening with soccer, I don't know if you know, but we played a lot of games, bro. We played about 34 games in a season. Back then, every playoff tie or playoff match is essentially 2 games.
That's crazy that you actually say that, because like my next question was gonna be that, because I think, for the viewers and for people listening in, like just playing sports in general is like very draining, and everybody can hear my perspective, football perspective, basketball perspective. We had Quentin Cook on here, he gave his perspective, but now you have a soccer perspective, and you just alluded to y'all play a lot of games. So could you talk a little bit about your day-to-day with that and like what that looks like as a professional soccer player?
Yeah, man. It's taxing. It's very taxing. When you look at a typical game week, right? You're playing, it's very similar to football where it's okay, you're playing on the weekend, However, the days of preparation all bring, different dynamics. You have, sometimes maybe it's a lighter week or it's a lighter day the first the first day of the week, but then the next 2 days is you're really getting after it. And then you have about a day or two to recover to be at maximum potential for the game. And then you're doing that 34 times within a 52-week year, and then if you make playoffs, you're playing 2 games, you're playing a team twice. Well, this was back then. You're playing a team twice, home and away. And there's about 4 matchups before the championship. So, in 2013, we had played 40 games before we got to MLS Cup. And MLS Cup was in December. We started in March, so not only you got the changing of the seasons, literally our game was like the second coldest in history. At the time, it was the coldest in history, 17 degrees.
That's crazy.
Bro, we're playing on ice, like we're sliding everywhere. You hit the ground, you're feeling it. And you just got to block that out and keep performing. And, fortunately we were able to win, but 6 weeks later we were right back in preseason, Didn't really get to soak it in. And then again, you know how it goes. All right, that was cool that y'all did that last year. Do it again.
Yeah, it's like this ongoing, like, we want to see what you can do, like, more. You have to do more. It's like almost like never enough. But like before games, for me, I used to get like my anxiety was super high. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of played on my mental just as far as how I thought about myself. And sometimes it would like handicap me out there. And then like some games I would break out of it, but then it would be more times I would be going through the anxiety, feeling that rush. And then once I step foot on the field, sometimes like getting hit or like hitting somebody would kind of like break the skin for me. Is that kind of the same thing with you in soccer? Like before the games, do you get that same type of feeling?
For sure. To this day, man, 12 years in, every
Wow.
game, even, you wake up and it's like, there's been few days that I woke up excited right off the bat.
Right.
First feeling when you wake up is like, oh, game day. All right. What am I about to do now? What am I going to eat for breakfast? What time is it? Okay, I got this much time until I got to be at the stadium. All right. What else do I got to do? And it's like you said, a highly anxious, just like energy. And, there's nothing that dissipates that until you get on the field. And you also know how it goes. You hope that it's a moment that is in your favor, because that will dictate the level of confidence and how you feel moving forward. But if the first 2 or 3 events are a negative one, then it could be a long game. And then you're in your head and you're replaying these things, and obviously that is the difference between, just like okay players, good players, and great players, like who can respond in those situations the best, and I see that in all sports, and that's the thing that I really draw to in all sports and all different athletes, guys who can make mistakes and just like turn it up to another level, because that takes mental strength. It takes a serious amount of mental strength. And what I'm interested in, like learning more about and like following you and seeing, different people and how they feel on the subject, is how many athletes can take that out of their sport into their daily life when they're done, because that is going to be make or break them.
That's a great statement, what I'm saying, or question, I would say, because I would say for me, it was hard. It was like, I just did like this, short about this, being a football player. And for some people, some players, they can go right out of football and kind of like start their next career and kind of like take the same approach, right? But sometimes it can be very difficult because we're so used to playing and having the schedule and having these things laid out for us. And we never realize, like, wow, like once that stops and once it's over, we have to create that for ourselves. So sometimes it takes time to be able to actually bring that confidence back up, like when we was playing, because now we don't have that shield of, okay, I'm an MLS soccer player, I'm an NFL player. Now we have to kind of insert ourselves right back into society, because at the end of the day, we're human. We want to be human. But I think it's just like what you said, man, like being able to take that from what you do on the field and actually apply that to the real world. I say the real world, but I mean to the world, is something that I definitely think we can do. We just have to continue to actually work on that. And that kind of like leads into my next question too, about just being mentally present, right? Like, what do you do to stay mentally present throughout the season? Like, do you do any therapy? Do you do meditation, positive self-talk? What do you do to stay mentally present?
Yeah, so my weekly routine, meditation is the number one on the list. I just always say that because there's many different forms of meditation. Sometimes it's not always like closing your eyes and chanting all these different things.
Right.
When I say that, that's always the first thing people go to. I was like, nah, I mean, I've done that before, but sometimes just going on a walk on a trail at a local like state park, listening to nature, not everybody else. And when I'm at home, kids is running around or the TV's on or music's playing. It's like these things are consistently taking your mind to places outside of yourself. But for me, being in nature, taking a seat, being still, quieting my mind, that's when the revelations come to me. That's when the positive reinforcement comes to me.
Wow.
That I think that's one layer. And then, the next layer is being consciously aware of how you're talking to yourself. Positive self-talk, affirmations. I record my own voice saying good things about myself. I replay them, and then I challenge myself to be able to say it out loud.
First time I heard that, bro. Yo,
it's hard.
I might try that for real.
It's hard, bro. And I'm sure you went through it. Like when you first started being in the podcast game, residually, it might have been a little tough to hear yourself.
Man, what? I feel like I sound like a sloth.
You start, and that's the thing. It's that's why positive self-talk is so important. Is because I don't know if it's how society is built or because we are in this professional realm where we're criticized on a consistent basis, but it becomes us. So it's we hear ourselves and we're automatically going to the negative.
Right.
Wild. That's really wild. So, I've been doing that for 3 or 4 years now, and it's still very hard. So, that's, I say that to one, not just give the unicorns and rainbows answer, because that is not what life is, but to also have the viewers understand that this is a lifelong journey.
Wow.
And what puts us in I think, an awful situation and position sometimes is we want the instant gratification. We want it to change right away. We want to go look up something on YouTube or watch, subscribe to something and say, oh yeah, that's going to get me to the spot tomorrow. And it's that's really not what it's about. It's through that journey and having your moments of victory. When I replay some of these affirmations, I can tell what my mood was just from my voice and the tone.
Wow.
And I'll start to use those tones in the moment to tap into that energy from the past and say, okay, so even though I'm in a down place now, that doesn't mean I should reside in that energy. Let me listen to these different moments in my life where the energy was high.
Wow.
And even if I have to trick myself, into believing that that's what I'm feeling right now, just the thought and the knowing and the proof that I've been in a better place than now gives me a little bit more motivation, gives me a little bit more inspiration, and allows me to get through the tougher times just a little easier.
Man, that is really profound. And what you said, that is something that, I feel like I hope the people, that are listening, they really take heed to what you just said about recording yourself and really in those down moments, really just listen, going back, listening to yourself when you was in a proud moment, when you were happy, to bring you back in that state. And I think that is such an amazing thing, bro. And I think you're going to change people's lives because it gives people a different route. Everybody has a different way that they kind of struggle and actually want to seek help for their mental health. For me, positive self-talk and therapy works, right? But for some people, it's just meditation. It's doing what you said, maybe recording yourself, maybe saying something positive to yourself. So, man, I commend you for doing that. But then there's also things that you're doing, amazing things, in your respective space. and you have a business called Team Social Sports. So I want you to talk a little bit about that and why you started it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Social Sports is a digital marketing athlete representation company. Essentially, what I realized is I was in a place where I was just kind of selling my soul. I love soccer and I love everything that it's brought to me, but I did find myself in positions, whether it's endorsements or like meeting people that are fans and stuff like that. I would kind of sell myself. And the goal of Social Sports is to try to take athletes and bring a sense of their own truth into their experience in their sport, and then also kind of utilize the interests that they have, the goals and visions that they have, and craft their endorsements around that so that, okay, as you're pursuing these different dreams and goals, you're also reiterating to yourself the things that are important to you. Now, the really interesting part about that is how it kind of came to fruition. About 9 years into my career, I'm in a position where I could possibly, well, actually, I'll backtrack. What first started was I found myself in a situation where I started to recognize the actual reality that I was in. And in this particular situation, it was me trying to understand that as a player, like, right, players choose agents, representation to do all their bidding. And I would just tell my agent what I want, and he would go talk to somebody, and out of sight, out of mind. I was told that's going to help me do my job better, right? Not having to worry about those things, but over time, I realized, and a lot of it was my fault as well, because I wasn't in a place to articulate in a concise fashion exactly what I needed. I was going off of what other people were saying they wanted or what they got, comparing myself to other people. And it's a tricky situation when you're just like pushing off your own handlings to other people that aren't really in your brain or your being. So me personally, I had a situation where I was doing a contract negotiation off of one of the best seasons of my career. And it just wasn't going the way that I thought or that I had hoped for. And, when it was all said and done, I realized, okay, my agent, who is under an agency, is negotiating with a technical director, like a general manager, if you will, of a team, and a coach that also have the same agency. So I'm like, all right, I'm not that savvy in this world, but I do feel like I'm going to lose out there because I'm just the asset, I'm just the piece that's on a whiteboard. So how can I just assume that anybody else is going to have my best interest, And that was the first time I started like kind of really just like keeping my eyes a little more open and looking at my reality and doing research and, gaining information. And, maybe that took me into like maybe 2 years ago where COVID hit. We personally, as a league, MLS, you have your players union and you have the league. And we were butting heads before COVID, and then COVID hit, and they like took a lot of our rights and freedom, if you will, And again, for them to do that in that time, before that, I'm thinking like, oh no, we're all working together. We're providing entertainment for people, and we're being able to compete through the integrity of sport. But like through that, I was like, wow, this was a business move. And honestly, where I am today, it was a good business move. Yeah. I don't fault them for that. Maybe there's something more wrong with our society and how we view the value of being business savvy. Mm-hmm. It does take away the human aspect of things. And so that was right there was the genesis for for me to bring a little bit more humanity into this business of sport, and to also challenge myself to start to learn concepts, ideologies that I felt like would help me after soccer. Because otherwise I would have just been, again, pushing all my handles and responsibilities to somebody else. And then when I'm done playing, like, I mean, I can't just assume that person's going to keep handling my handles and responsibilities.
Right.
I had to take control of my own narrative. And essentially, I wanted to be able to pass that on to other players that were in my position, because I knew they were, just from, seeing the things that are going on.
So you was like one of the first people to kind of like break away from that and actually do what you had intended for yourself, as far as like, make sure that you have something set up when you're done playing, and, get the money that you solely desire in the sport that you're playing. But I also want to ask a question, like, if there was one thing you could tell like your younger self, what would it be? And would you change anything about your journey?
Okay, so I'll answer that actually from the last question first. I wouldn't change anything, because I do believe the way things went down have led me to where I am right now. But I would have liked, those days when you're just looking out the window, or you just riding, driving, like kind of wondering what you're doing. Being able to tell myself, like, at the end of the day, I have to take action in saving myself. Whatever I feel like is wrong with me, or whatever is giving me that feeling that like the emptiness feeling, because you can be in a position, for instance, I score a goal, my team wins, like for 2 days, like I'm on top of the world. But again, when I get to practice on Wednesday, that second I take a bad touch, the second I don't track back and do my job, somebody is in my ear telling me. And then that next weekend, if I don't score, then somebody's telling me. And if I don't score for a lot of games, lots of people are telling me, So it's like the consistent criticism, it was eating away at me. And I wish I could have just like told myself, like, bro, save yourself.
And we the same, we the same person, bro. I went through the same thing, man. And I'm so happy for you that, you're still playing, you're still doing what you love, and you continue to go throughout the journey, man, letting people know on this platform that it's truly a journey, and we have to, take this seriously, take life seriously. You gave different perspectives that, man, people are going to be able to take with them and put in their memory box on where they go, man. So, man, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. This has been awesome. Shoot, I hope we could do some stuff together in the future, because I know it'll be dope, man, for what you do, man. So I really just want to appreciate you for coming on, man.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Thank you for holding a space for me to come express this, because this was very therapeutic, honestly. But also,
That's what it's for.
Speaking your own truth as well, because the time is now. And I definitely want to take you up on that. Let's link up and see what kind of, whether it's pieces of content or avenues and ways for this message to continue to be amplified, so that everybody can start healing themselves, man.
Man, what you said, we got to do that, man. But this is the Circle of M. I'm Marcus Smith. I am your host with CJ Sapong, defender of the Nashville Soccer Club. And shoot, man, we are out.